Hey babes, and welcome to Gore and Gossip. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Jordan. This is your weekly deep dive into all things terrifying, true crime cases, cold-blooded killers, and the occasional creepy conspiracy.
And since it's spooky season, we're turning up the chills with haunted legends, cursed objects, and the kind of stories that'll make you second guess the shadows in your hallway.
From killers to cryptids, from bloodstains to ghost chains. If it makes your skin crawl, we're talking about it.
So lock the doors, light a candle,
and let's get into it.
Ooh, guys, we have a really fun one for you today. We're gonna do something a little different. Everyone loves a good scary story. Maybe not everybody, but if you're listening, then the odds are you do love a scary story. Whether it's around a campfire, a sleepover, or just like scrolling, and you come across one, you get drawn in, and that's what they do. They draw you in, they hook us with anticipation, and spook us just enough to leave a little chill lingering long after the story is finished. So Jordan and I have gone through, and we've searched some Reddit stories for you guys, and we picked out some really spooky tales for us to talk about today. I'm so excited.
Do you I am so excited too. Do you remember the first time that you went on Reddit and went on to No Sleep or any of those scary stories and remember reading them? Because I used to get freaked out all the time by reading them.
Yeah, so I have not been ever really a big Reddit user, but when I do, I feel like it's always for something creepy or conspiracy or something like that. I feel like that's all I use it for is I want a good conspiracy or something. I'll be talking with Dag about something, and then I'll be searching Reddit for a further information about a conspiracy we're talking about.
I freaking love that. Well, we scoured the internet, and this one, let me tell you, when I read this one the other week, when we first decided that we were doing these Reddit stories, it freaked me out.
Oh,
and
love that.
It gave me chills. So
Love that.
Let's get into it, guys. This is from Reddit No Sleep, and the title is "My Wife Has Been Peeking at Me from Around Corners and Behind Furniture. It's gone from weird to terrifying."
Oh my god, that sounds terrifying.
Just imagine Dag looking at you from the corner.
No. Just peeking. No. I'm okay, thanks. Nothing. You want me to? I'll just peek at you guys.
Just stare at them. Stare into their souls.
No, thank you.
Alrighty. So my wife, Lynn, and I have been together for 6 years and married for 11 months. Our entire history together has been very normal, and never once have I noticed any weird behaviors or red flags. I can't stress enough how out of character this whole thing is for her. Lynn is very kind, intelligent, and thoughtful. She has always been the no-nonsense type of person. Being childish or trying to scare me is not something she normally do. She doesn't even like watching horror movies. When we first started dating, she agreed to watch The Shining with me because she knew how much I loved horror. She was so scared that she didn't even make it through half of the movie before we had to turn it off. She isn't into anything creepy and has never been into pranks. It's just not her cup of tea, and that's fine, but that's what's so strange about this. It's just so unlike her. I should also add that she never had any mental health issues, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't run in her family. I know some people are able to hide their mental health problems, but in the 6 years we've been together, I think I've seen some sort of sign. 2 months ago, I was in the kitchen making myself some coffee before work. I was running a little bit late that morning and knew I wouldn't be able to make it to Dunkin' Donuts for my usual morning fix. I took a sip of my coffee as I hurried down the hall towards the front door, and when I happened to notice Lynn peeking at me from around the corner ahead of me, I could only see her eyes and a strand of her long, dark hair hanging against the wall.
Ew, strand. Ew, that's so... you just have a little... That's creepy.
It's peeking. The rest of her body was concealed behind the corner. I nearly spilled my coffee when I saw her. I did burn the shit out of my lips. Geez, Lynn, I said, wiping a few drops of coffee from my pants. You scared the shit out of me. She immediately popped out of view like a little kid that has been caught, and I heard her scurry off towards the living room. And by the time I got to the front door, she was out of sight.
That's creepy. Just, I hate the word scurry. I will just put that out there. I hate it. It makes it's like give a weird vibe.
Like a little mouse.
Yeah, nothing.
It was really weird and just totally out of character for her, like I said. But I also found it kind of funny that she was being more playful and a little less serious. I shouted that I loved her and called her a weirdo, and as I shut the door behind me, I heard her laughing. Her behavior was a bit odd, but it certainly wasn't something to call a priest over for. I forgot about it by lunch, and by the time I got home, she was her normal self. I didn't bring it up, and neither did she, and life went on. The next incident happened 3 days later. It was around 2 a.m., and I had woken up to get a drink. I was standing at the kitchen island, jug of OJ in hand, when I felt a strong feeling that I was being watched. For whatever reason, I looked down at the floor and saw my wife's smiling face staring back at me. She was peeking at me from the other side of the island, staring up at me with a wide, unblinking eyes and grinning like the Cheshire Cat.
Is this Smile? Is this the movie Smile now?
It seems like it.
Oh my God. Let me just ask really quick. Why would you like come home after you like something like your partner did something like so out of character like that and then just not bring it up? I swear I would look at Dick and be like, so what was that about this morning? Like, what were you doing? You're just trying to creep me out. Like, why would you not ask about it?
I think I would also like ask Danielle what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? Like, she scares me, but she's not going to be like peeking at me from around the corner. Like, she's going to come up behind me and touch me, and then I'll jump and whatever.
Yeah.
Peeking at me, grinning at me, just like barely
And
seeing
now,
your
like,
face.
2:00. Yeah, like, that's just weird.
What?
Like, why would you just not bring that up when you got home? That is, I would not. I don't even know if I would wait till I got home. I'd be like texting you, like, what are you doing?
Would call Danielle on the way to work and be like, what was that about?
Yeah. I'd be like, okay, I'm running late, so I'll call you in the car. But like, what just happened?
Oh, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. Oh my God, no. I don't understand. Okay.
I screamed, I admit it. Not out of irritation, but fear. For some reason, at that moment, I was scared. At the sound of my scream, Lynn scuttled backwards out of my view, her hands and feet smacking the tile floor as she hurried out of the kitchen on all fours.
No. Out that night. You need a cross? You need holy water? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I didn't run after her or even yell after her. I just stood there frozen in shock, wondering what the fuck had possessed her to do that.
Yeah, possessed her.
Literally possessed.
Yeah.
Get a priest.
Yeah.
It took me a little bit longer than I'd like to admit to go back upstairs, but I eventually did. And when I got to our bedroom, Lynn was laying on her side, asleep, or at least pretending to be. I stood there for a while, watching her breathing to be sure she was really asleep. And I had the feeling she might jump out at me the moment I got into bed, but she didn't. I climbed into bed and she didn't even move. Her breathing was soft.
Wake her up. Why don't you wake her up?
If she really did that, there's no way that she went back to sleep.
There's no
Are
way.
you kidding me?
I wake Jake up for no reason. Why you're gonna not wake her up after she just stood in the kitchen smiling at you and then walked away on all fours? No.
Bitch.
No, wake her up.
I was starting to wonder if I'd dreamt the whole thing. The next morning, I waited for her to come down for coffee, and after handing her a mug and kissing her cheek, I decided to ask her about it.
Finally. Good. Smart.
What was that about last night, I asked, keeping my tone light so I didn't offend or embarrass her. She frowned over her cup of coffee, shaking her head like she had no clue what I was referring to. You were peeking at me again from over there, I said, pointing to the spot on the floor by the kitchen island. She followed my gaze, and when she looked back at me, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard that I couldn't help but join her.
That's weird.
Why?
Why is she not saying words?
Are you laughing?
Why did she just like shake her head and then laugh? No words. Words, lady. Words.
You creep me the fuck out sometimes, you know that? I said. She giggled and set her cup on the counter and wrapped her arms around my neck. You creep me out all the time, so I guess we're even, she teased. We said our goodbyes and left for work. As I drove, I kept thinking about how creepy it had been seeing her grinning at me from behind the island like that. The sounds her hands made on the floor as she crawled away. I told myself she was just trying to be silly, just trying to join me in my love of all things horror. But it's not like I was afraid of her. But it still didn't sit right with me.
I would be afraid.
I would be terrified.
I would be afraid.
If this girl cannot sit through The Shining, like least scary horror movie in my opinion.
And now she's doing this? No. Something's
Excuse
wrong.
me?
I would be terrified. I would not be coming home at all.
Bless the shit out of that house.
Yeah.
I started seeing her peeking at me more and more. Sometimes she'd be peeking out from behind the couch or living room curtains. Once she even managed to get inside her grandmother's old trunk that sits at the foot of our bed. I might not have even known she was there at all had the trunk's old hinges not given her away.
In the trunk?
Uh-huh.
No.
She had the lid propped up just enough so that only half of her face peeked through. She'd been grinning like an excited toddler. It was unnerving. I didn't even know what to say to her. All I could do was stare. When I finally found my voice, I asked her why on earth was she doing this. She didn't answer, but she had slowly closed the lid, shutting herself inside the trunk. I just walked away, feeling disturbed. I didn't understand why she was doing it.
No. No.
But it clearly made her happy.
Why? Why are you not? I don't understand. I don't understand at all.
Gaslighting himself into believing this is normal.
This is not okay. This is not okay.
I just hope she would tire of the game quickly. Lynn didn't peek at me for the next 2 weeks. I started to think she was done with her weird prank, and I was relieved. We were watching a show on Netflix one night, and I jokingly said that I hadn't seen her peeking at me lately, and that she must have given up on her spy game. She looked up at me with a small smile and said, maybe I've just gotten better at it.
I'd leave. I'd get up and leave. Leave. Right then and there. Right then and there. Leave.
I didn't say anything, but I wondered whether or not she was joking. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. Was she still peeking at me when I wasn't looking and I just hadn't noticed? And if so, what the hell was she getting out of this? I started to feel paranoid, constantly checking whether she was watching me from around the corner or behind a door. I was jumpy whenever I was home, and she wasn't in full view of me. I felt stupid and a little crazy. But after a few weeks without another incident, I began to relax. I stopped checking behind furniture and walls and told myself it was just a bad memory. Then, a few days ago, things got so much worse. Lynn left to go to a friend's, and I lounged on the couch, played a couple games on my laptop. Around 9 p.m., I hopped in the shower, and as I was washing the soap from my hair, I felt that awful feeling that I was being watched.
No.
I slowly opened my eyes and almost had a fucking heart attack. Lynn was peeking from behind the shower curtain.
It's always the shower. It's always the shower.
Her entire head stretched into the shower, leaving just her body outside. Her long, dark hair hung against the curtain, the ends dripping with water. Her mouth hung open in a terrible grin, eyes wide and red as if she hadn't blinked in a while. I screamed and jumped back against the wall. She didn't move, nor did her smile waver. Her makeup ran down her cheeks in 2 black streaks. She looked giddy and completely deranged.
No. And this is literally smile. No, thank you.
I was fucking terrified. We stood like that for a few moments, neither of us saying a word. Finally, after what felt like forever, she slowly pulled her head back out of the shower, and I watched her blurry figure through the curtain as she moved backwards towards the bathroom door. A second later, the bathroom door slammed shut hard enough to rattle the mirror. I screamed again and jumped out of the shower to lock the door. I stayed inside the bathroom for over an hour. Maybe I overreacted to some of you, but joke or not, I wasn't going to put up with the crazy shit anymore.
No.
That's what I kept telling myself as I paced in my bathroom, stopping to listen at the door every few minutes. Suddenly, I heard a muffled sound, and I pressed my ear against the bathroom door, straining to listen. I couldn't hear anything, but I envisioned Lynn standing on the other side of the door, giggling at her joke. I felt a surge of anger. I was beyond pissed at being made to feel scared in my own house and made to hide in the bathroom for an hour. All for what? Some joke? If it was a joke, it was an awful one. It's a terrible joke.
That's horrible.
Like, this man is getting, like, terrorized by his wife.
Yeah, that's not even remotely funny to me.
Not at all. What the fuck, Lynn? I snapped. This shit is getting fucking annoying. I waited for her to apologize or to call me a jerk, but instead I heard a faint moan. So quiet, I wondered if I heard it at all. And then complete silence. Lynn, I called out, not able to even hide the shakiness in my voice. I got no response, just my own heavy breathing. I swear to God, just fucking stop it, I yelled, pounding my fist on the door. I waited for her to cuss me out, something I would expect from me talking to her like that. I never screamed at her before, but there was nothing, just the occasional drip from the shower head. And I won't deny that I was scared, too afraid to open the damn door and face my own wife. I waited another 30 minutes or so, which feels like a fucking lifetime when you're scared. Finally, I decided I wasn't going to spend the night hiding in my bathroom, so I got down on my knees and peered under the door. I almost expected to see her face peeking back at me, but thankfully I didn't. I could see straight down the hallway to the top of the stairs, but no Lynn. I didn't know if I should be happy about that or not. I looked for a few more minutes, waiting to see her head pop up over the top step, but it never came. I stood up, my hand hovering over the door, and mentally prepared myself to open it. I slowly turned the lock with shaky fingers and was about to yank it open when I heard a sound that still makes me nauseous when I think about it.
I'm scared.
A moan louder than before, but this time I was able to tell where it was coming from. I turned my head to the closet door as if in slow motion and locked eyes with my wife, who was peeking up at me from that slight gap.
Divorce. Immediately.
Her eyes were still wide as ever, and her mouth was hanging open in the most grotesque, gaping smile I've ever seen. I didn't even scream. I was too scared for even that. Her hands were clasped to her chest, body trembling with sheer delight as if she could barely contain her excitement. A short, raspy moan bubbled up from her throat, deep and raw, sending a shiver through my entire body.
Nope. Divorce immediately.
Like, you need to get away from this woman.
Divorce immediately.
Somehow, I found the ability to pull the bathroom door open and ran as fast as I could all the way down the steps, snagging my keys and phone from the table, the living room, before running outside to my car. I could hear her shrill laughter behind me, but I didn't hear her getting closer. I didn't bother shutting the front door. I drove away from the house faster than I legally should have, shivering the entire time, either from fear or the colds, maybe a little bit of both. I hadn't grabbed a coat or even a pair of shoes. I was still in my boxers and my hair was still damp. I drove straight to my brother Chris's house about 40 minutes away, ignoring my ignoring any and every call and text I got. I didn't check my phone until I was safely parked in my brother's driveway. Lynn had called 4 times and sent a flurry of texts, all wondering where I'd gone and why I left like that.
I'm divorcing you, is what I would say.
I threw my phone at the dash in a rage and furious at her nonchalant attitude. My brother and his wife were surprised to see me, especially dressed in just a pair of boxers, but told me to stay as long as I needed. Chris lent me some clothes and asked what I
boxers. I
just left. Straight out. Didn't
That's
even put
crazy.
clothes on. He was like, I don't want to be in this house with this wife.
Yeah, listen, I get it.
I told him Lynn and I had a fight, but it didn't get into the details. I didn't want him to think I was overreacting, leaving my wife over a prank, even if it was a strange one. I mean, hadn't I encouraged her for years to lighten up instead of being so serious all the time? I had wanted her to relax and loosen up, but this was definitely not what I had in mind. I tried to sleep on their sofa, but my brain wouldn't let me sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lynn's face staring at me from inside the closet. Knowing she'd been in there with me the entire time made my skin crawl. She never
disgusting.
left the fucking bathroom at all.
No.
Instead, she slipped inside the closet and slammed the bathroom doors shut to fool me. And the mere thought of going back home gave me anxiety.
That's crazy.
I don't think I could sleep either. I
No.
tossed and I turned, unable to sleep. Chris ended up giving me a sleeping pill, so I was able to get a little rest. My sleep was filled with terrible dreams. All of Lynn's smiling face. I woke up just as the sun started to rise, and my sore body ached from the sofa, and I felt drained. I knew I'd have to call Lynn at some point, but I didn't know what to say to her. I wouldn't be going home unless she gave me her word she'd never do any more creepy shit. I just wanted my wife back. Her normal, serious self never looked so good to me. I was contemplating calling her and telling her that when that familiar feeling came over me. I was being watched. I was staring at the ceiling, my heart in my throat, and I didn't want to look away, but the longer I ignored that feeling, the worse it got. My eyes drifted away from the ceiling almost on their own. Her face was pressed up against the window beside the couch, staring at me with that same gaping smile. Drool dribbled down her lips, leaving two long streaks down the glass.
Oh my god.
I didn't know how long she'd been there, but something told me she'd been there quite a while, possibly all night.
Oh my god.
I didn't bother screaming, though I was afraid anger trumped any fear. I felt that at this moment, and I jumped up from the couch and pounded my palm against the glass. Lynn, are you crazy? What the hell is with you? Just go home, I shouted. Now. She didn't move, and her ghastly expression never changed. If anything, her smile only grew, as if she'd never been more elated. I could hear Chris and his wife moving around upstairs, as if Lynn could hear them from her place outside. Her head twitched slightly in their direction, and she began to close her mouth slowly. Chris called my name from upstairs, obviously concerned, and I turned to him and his wife Rebecca hurrying up down the steps. When I turned back to the window, Lynn was gone.
God.
The only sign that she'd been there was the 2 long streaks of drool still dripping down the glass.
Ew.
Disgusting. I hate drool.
Yeah.
I tried explaining to Chris and Rebecca about waking up to see Lynn watching over me through their window, and they were skeptical. Who wouldn't be? Chris and I went outside to the spot in front of the window, but there were no footprints in the dirt, just a slight indent. Animal, probably, Chris guessed, and I didn't argue. He and Rebecca assumed I dreamt the entire episode, but they didn't understand. I was too tired to explain to them. I called out of work that day and turned my cell off. I didn't want to face Lynn. Just talking to her was too much for me at that point. I really started to believe something was irreversibly wrong with her, that no matter what promises she made, we'd never be the same again. The thought sapped me to my core. I cried most of the morning, and by noon, I figured I was ready to confront her. Give her one last chance to explain herself. I could at least give her that after 6 years, I told myself. I turned my phone on and saw the dozens of texts she sent, all from a seemingly concerned wife. Can we talk? I love you. Please call me. I'm really worried. Can you answer? Just come home. And more of the same, all texts telling me she loved me and she wanted me home. How worried she was, not a damn one addressing the crazy shit she pulled. Like she hadn't been acting like a character from a Stephen King book. Even her texts were different. She normally texted novels just to tell me to pick up a loaf of bread. You'd think she'd have more to say to me after her bizarre shenanigans. I know it probably seems childish of you who are miles away from the situation, but if you saw the way Lynn looked at me, how she scampered away on all fours like some wild animal, grinning at me from inside the closet like a lunatic, then I think
crazy.
you'd find my reaction was warranted.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so.
I agree.
I'd say even more than that.
I would have left
Please
after
warranted.
the first instant. I would have confronted her.
No.
I ended up staying with Chris and Rebecca for another night. I didn't wake up yesterday until afternoon, and thankfully I didn't see Lynn's face watching me through the window. I don't want to pry because it's not my place, but is this fight something that can be mended? Rebecca asked. She made us both a sandwich for lunch, and I knew she wanted to breach the subject without seeming too nosy. I don't know. She's a different person, I said, choosing my words carefully. I still wasn't ready for her or Chris to know the full extent of the batshit craziness I've been dealing with.
I don't think I'd want anybody to know either.
Not at all. People change, Ben, but she's still the same woman you married. Maybe you both just need to talk through your issues. Whatever's going on, I'm sure it can be fixed, she said. Ever the peacekeeper. I think it's beyond that now. I don't think talking would help. I just don't trust her, I said. The words stung in my heart. I missed and loved my wife. But how could I live with someone like that? Living in constant fear didn't sound too appealing.
No.
Lynn loves you. She has to be absolutely crushed, she said. I don't know about that, I said. Well, she certainly seemed like it to me. I'd never seen her so upset. Very much unlike the Lynn I know, Rebecca said, shaking her head sadly. It took a full minute for her words to really sink in. And when they did, I felt dread warming its way through my skin. Wait, what do you mean? You saw her? You saw Lynn? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Rebecca nodded, casually, as if the fact wasn't nightmare fuel. Maybe for her, it wasn't. She stopped by this morning just after Chris left for work, she said, cleaning the plates from the table. I didn't see her car, though. Maybe she took an Uber or something. Beck, what did she say? Did she come inside? I asked, sweat starting to break out on my forehead. I began looking around, examining corners as though a predator lurked behind them. No, she just asked if you were awake yet, and I said you weren't. And I asked if she wanted me to wake you, but she said no. Just said to let you sleep, she said as she washed the dishes. That's all? She didn't say anything else, I asked. No, she looked awful, though, like she hadn't slept in days. I think you should call her. I got up from the table, thanked Rebecca for lunch, and I felt a little bit better at the knowledge that at least she hadn't come inside. Still, I needed to double-check that the doors were locked. I sat for a while trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't want to go home, but I felt like that I owed it to Lynn to help her if I could. Hadn't I sworn an oath to love and honor her through sickness and in health? Clearly, she was very sick.
This is not sickness, my guy. This is something else.
This is something entirely different. If she was sick, which I truly believe she was, I had to try and get her the help she needed. But I didn't even know where to start. I didn't want to call the police. And besides, what's the point? What the hell was I going to tell them? That my wife was peeking at me? That she was being creepy? As bizarre as she'd been, she still hadn't committed any crime. Not yet, anyway. The police would have probably said that I was overreacting. But this wasn't some prank. It felt wrong, dangerous even, like something sinister lurked behind her smile. I knew as her husband I was well within my rights to have her committed. But what if she's shouldn't you commit her to something, maybe?
To have her committed. That's just like so funny the way it's said, though.
Committed to a mental institution.
Yeah.
But if she simply acted normal in their presence, she'd obviously be able to fool Rebecca into thinking she was just a concerned wife. And as long as the doctors didn't find her danger to herself or others, they'd have no choice but to release her after 72 hours. I felt lost and overwhelmed, so I did what any husband in my position would do. I called her mother. I didn't want to, believe me. Her mother, Marianne, and I were never on the best of terms. We never fought or anything like that. She just wasn't a very warm person and wasn't really easy to get along with. She hardly ever smiled, and when she did, only her lips would move into a thin-lipped smile, leaving her eyes as blank as before. She gave off this aura that felt like she was permanently on the offensive. I'd only met her twice. Both times were for such short visits that I got the impression she didn't approve of me for her daughter. Lynn always ushered us out quickly as she didn't want me to feel uncomfortable, which I was grateful for. And being in her mother's company felt almost unbearable, like walking on glass. I was glad when we moved 3 states away so we didn't have to see her very often. I was happy to avoid the woman, but I needed her help. I really didn't want to talk to her at all, but I had to talk to someone, and someone who knew Lynn better than I did. So I grit my teeth, and I did what I had to do. Yes, she answered, almost sounding irritated. Marianne, it's me, Ben. Do you have a minute to talk? I asked. I could hear her cluck her tongue in irritation. I'm in the middle of writing some checks, but if you insist, I suppose I can spare a moment. What is it that you want to discuss, Benjamin? She said, coolly. It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely. That was not my mother. It's about Lynn. She's been acting strangely, and I was wondering if you had any idea whether there was something. I was quickly interrupted. It's a bit difficult to follow your rambling, Benjamin. What is it that you want from me? She asked. I could almost see her standing there in her thin sweater and slacks, tapping her fingernails impatiently on the table. I wanted to know if you ever noticed any odd behavior, or possibly any mental health issues, I asked. There was a long, uncomfortable pause that I couldn't tell was because she was thinking or something else. Finally, after a few seconds, she spoke. I'm not sure if this is one of your jokes, Benjamin, but if so, I don't find the humor in it. Now, I do have business to attend to, as I've said, so if you don't mind, she said. But I cut her off before she could get rid of me. Marianne, it's not a joke. I'm sincerely concerned about Lynn's mental health. Her behavior is very erratic lately, and I'm very worried about her, and I figured her mother, you would be as well, I said, my frustration evident in my voice. If you're truly concerned, then I suggest you get the health professionals involved. I don't know what you expect of me, she snapped. I could tell she was seconds away from hanging up, and for some reason I was so desperate not to let her. I had the feeling she knew a lot more than she was letting on. Please, if not for me, do it for Lynn, I tried. I heard a faint, shaky intake of breath, as if she was trying to hold her steely persona together, but was failing. Marianne, what's wrong? I started. Benjamin, I don't know what to tell you. My only advice would be to seek professional help. Do not call here again. Goodbye. I tried to call out to her, but she hung up. I tried to wrap my head around the call and her refusal to help me. Even if she didn't like me, why wouldn't she want to help her own daughter? I couldn't understand that, and I tried to replay the conversation, desperate to find something I missed. After a while, I almost gave up until I remembered her last word to me. Seek professional help. She said those words with a bit of urgency. I could just be grasping at straws, but no. I was sure her voice had changed ever so slightly when she said that, as if it were very important. What had she meant? I assumed she meant to medical professionals, but maybe she was referring to someone else, someone that she didn't for some reason feel comfortable saying directly, or maybe I was just desperate. I waited for Chris to get home, and after a very long time and exhausting conversation with him and Rebecca, I convinced them that Lynn truly needed psychiatric help. I didn't tell them everything. I wasn't prepared to go into it yet, but I told them about our last encounter, how she hidden in the bathroom, peeking at me from the closet. They were obviously shocked, but thankfully they believed me. They too just wanted to help her. Still, they didn't think it was all that serious. Weird, maybe, but not dangerous. They just kept saying that Lynn had to be playing some sort of weird joke. Maybe for YouTube, Rebecca offered, if only half-heartedly. Chris didn't think we should involve the police just yet. He offered instead to go with me, and I readily accepted it. He reasoned that calmly talking to her, trying to coax her into going willingly, was the best recourse. I agreed to do it his way. At least I wouldn't be going into that house alone. We drove over this morning just after breakfast, and there was no way I was going at night. When we pulled into the driveway, my stomach began doing somersaults. Her car wasn't there, but I still didn't let my guard down. The front door was ajar, and for a split second, I thought I'd seen her eyes staring through the gap. I was shaking and starting to sweat. Chris, however, was fine. He waited for me to open the door, his hands in his pockets like he was going on a fucking stroll through the park. I envied his ignorance. I pushed the door open and immediately was hit with the stench of rot. Chris smelled it too, and he walked in the house behind me with his nose scrunched up. "What do you guys use to clean the floors around here? Shit," Chris mumbled. "Shut up," I said, my eyes darting around for any signs of Lynn. The house was deadly quiet and dark despite being 10 in the morning. All the curtains were closed up tight, refusing to allow any sunlight inside. If I hadn't left it just 2 days prior, I'd thought the house to be abandoned. We moved through each room, carefully checking any place that she might hide, occasionally calling her name. "Why the fuck are you looking under the couch?" Chris asked eventually. "Aren't we looking for your wife?" He was looking at me like I was a moron. "Let's go upstairs," I whispered. He shook his head, but he followed me up the stairs to check the bathroom and spare bedroom. On the way up, my shoes crunched over pieces of glass that looked to be littered over a few steps. I noticed that one of Lynn and my wedding portraits that hung up on the wall along the staircase had been smashed. The frame hung crookedly, all the glass removed. I stared at the picture, a lump forming in my throat. We had taken the photo just after leaving the church after saying our vows. She looked so beautiful in her white gown. I looked at Lynn's beautiful face. I never dreamed her face would ever be a source of terror for me. We climbed the rest of the steps and checked the spare bedroom, but it looked completely untouched. I was hesitant to go into the bathroom, my fear from that night coming back to me all at once. Chris noticed and offered to go in by himself, but I couldn't let him do that. So we walked in together, checking the closet and the shower. The bathroom looked as if it hadn't been touched since the night I left. "I don't think she's here, Ben. Why don't you pack some clothes and we'll try coming back tomorrow," something Chris said. I nodded, went into the bedroom, and shoved some clothes into a duffel bag. When I checked inside her closet, I came across the source of the smell and gagged.
Oh no.
Chris took one look and lost all color in his face. He had to go stand by the stairs to get away from the sight and smell. I gazed down in shock at what lay inside my bedroom closet. Soaking into the rug were at least a dozen eyeballs, are carefully laid out in pairs.
Ew.
Some
Ew.
were as large as a quarter, while others were tiny as a marble.
Eyeballs.
I stared at the eyes she collected from small animals and wondered how she'd gotten them and shuddered at the thought. Man, I thought I had it bad with Becca's shoe addiction, but fuck me, your wife's in here collecting eyeballs? "Ben, I think we should go," he called from the hall. "I'm getting nauseous." All right. I grabbed my duffel and shut the closet door on my new nightmare. I stepped into the hall and took a deep breath of air. I could taste the rot in my tongue and couldn't help but gag. "Who the fuck lines up eyeballs in their closet like that?" Chris mumbled. "I tried to tell you she needed help," I said. "She doesn't need help, Ben. She needs a fucking exorcist. You coming or what? I can't stand the smell any." His words died in his throat, and his eyes grew with fear. I didn't ask him why. I could feel it. Someone was watching me, and I didn't think it was the eyes in the closet. I turned around, my eyes slowly scanning the bedroom. "Christ," I whispered as I finally saw what we missed. Under the bed, curled on her side, watching us with the excitement of a kid on Christmas morning, was my wife. She held her hands together under her chin, and they were shaking eagerly.
I'm going to be checking under my bed every night now.
I'm sorry. Now that she knew she'd been found, I could hear the quiet noises she was making, a sort of hiccuping sound in her throat, as if the excitement was too much for her. It was unnerving, to say the least. Wide eyes and that huge smile. Everything in me told me to run, but I forced it away. This was my wife. No matter how twisted, she was still the woman I married, and I had to help her.
No, she's not.
"Lynn," I said softly. She didn't respond, but her head bobbled back and forth in two quick little movements as if she were nodding. "Baby, I just want to help, okay? Can you let me do that?" I asked. I had taken a single step forward, approaching her like some sort of dangerous animal. "I love you, Lynn," I said softly, taking another step closer. She let out a tiny moan, and I had to resist the urge to run. Her shoulders were starting to quiver, and her eyes grew as large as saucers. I crouched down as I could see her better and immediately saw the blood. Her hands were covered in it. They trembled more the closer I got, as if she was barely able to contain herself. Lynn, are you hurt? You're bleeding, I said. She bubbled her head again, her bloody fingers moving up and down as if playing an invisible piano. They occasionally grazed her chin, leaving smears of blood on her skin. I wanted to recoil in disgust, and the smell was coming off of her was revolting. I could feel the vomit trying to climb up my throat. Her lips were dry and stretched thin, blood seeping between the cracks. I knew she wouldn't have come out on her own, but I didn't want to leave her in that state she was in. I scooted closer and reached out to her. Then the excited, hiccuping sound got louder and her hand shook, fingers flexing. It was then I could see the blood oozing from in between her fingers. Oh my God, Lynn, you're bleeding, I said. Instinctively, I reached out to take her hand, and then before I could even touch her, her hand sprang out towards me. A sharp pain shot through my arm, and I fell back on my ass. My arm burned, and I could see the blood dripping onto the carpet. I looked back at her in shock, and her grinning madly, her fingers clutching a large shard of glass. You all right in there? Chris asked from behind me. I turned my head slightly and nodded to him, cradling my arm to my chest. When I turned back to face Lynn, I saw that her focus had shifted. She wasn't looking at me anymore, and she wasn't smiling anymore either. She was staring past me, her eyes glaring at Chris the way a hungry lion might stare at an antelope. Her mouth was still hanging open, but it was twisted into a snarl. I got to my feet and began walking backwards down the hall, afraid to take my eyes off of her. Are you bleeding? Chris asked. The moment the words left his mouth, Lynn started fast scooting out from under the bed, the glass shard still in her fist. Chris, run, go, I yelled. He must have been too afraid to move because a second later I felt my back bump into him. He was still standing at the top of the stairs, staring at horror that was my wife. Lynn had crawled completely out from under the bed and stood in the bedroom doorway, her face twisted in rage. Her whole body was visibly tense. Blood ran down her fingers and onto the floor. Jesus, Lynn, Chris said, you playing hide and seek? I reached back and pushed him towards the steps. Move your ass, Chris, I said as quietly but firmly as I could. Lynn bobbed her head in a fast, sharp motions and began to grin, stretching her mouth open wider and wider so her chin seemed to touch her chest.
Oh my God.
I heard Chris mutter a prayer, and then he was running down the stairs. I stood at the top of the steps, stuck between the love for a woman who clearly needed serious help and self-preservation. I only wanted to help, I said, choking back tears. Her eyes focused on me once again as she slowly lifted the glass, holding it out in front of her, and then she started sprinting towards me, grinning with utter excitement. Thankfully, my body took over, and I flew down the stairs, skipping 2 or 3 at a time. I made it to the front door before I felt her leap onto my back, wrapping her arms around my neck, her open mouth next to my ear so I could hear those terrible hiccuping sounds up close. I shook her off of me, knocking her to the floor. I felt a searing pain in my back as she went, but I tore open the front door and bolted to my car. Chris was standing in the front yard, talking on the phone with police. I didn't say a word. I just ran to my car and jumped in. Chris took the hint and followed me. Still on the line with 911. I watched the rearview mirror just to make sure I'd see her there running after us, but I never did. I went straight to the ER and got 11 stitches in my arm and 3 on my back. The police asked a lot of questions and went back to the house to do a search, but of course, Lynn wasn't there. They advised me to stay with a friend or relative for a while and to file a restraining order as soon as I could, but none of those things would matter. Somehow, I just knew. I dropped Chris off at home, and I went to a motel an hour away. I wanted to put as much distance between me and Lynn as I could. This is where I've been for the last 4 hours. I thought maybe the police would find her. Maybe they'd get her the help she desperately needs. But now, I don't think so. Because 40 minutes ago, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words. I found you. And a picture attached. The picture was dark and grainy, but I instantly knew what it was. There was no mistaking my wife's eye. I started typing this out immediately after, and I don't know what I'd do. I'm alone and scared, but I can't help that I'm being watched.
Oh my, that was intense.
Super long, sorry, but
That was
very
scary.
intense.
No, that was really good. Oh my God.
I love Reddit. I love Reddit.
Yes.
People
I
are
love
such
them.
good writers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's such a good space. Like, one, it's a good space to like tell scary stories in general. So like whether they're real or not, you know, whatever. But like they give you like such a good like little like thrill and like chill out of them. But although at the same time, like it's such a good space to like practice your like writing and like what better not than to do like a scary story. Oh my God, that was amazing.
Very long, so sorry. Like 40
No, it's all good. That was so good. I'm sorry about my cough, guys.
So I read that like late at night and it freaked me out so much. I think I
Yeah.
almost pulled an all-nighter.
That's
When I had
I also
COVID,
would too.
like 2 weeks ago, I read this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Ooh, that was scary. I like that. All right. Let's see. We should do. Let's do this one. This one. So this is the one. Jordan and I both picked this one actually, but I'm gonna read it because this is something that is legitimately a fear of mine. And I didn't know. I did know a little bit like about this. I feel like I've heard about this story before, but I've never actually like read it. I think I've just heard it before, and then I read it and I was like, oh my God, this is literally what I call it. All right, so this one, it says, my grandma used to tell me scary stories when I was little, but there's one I'll never forget. I was 10 years old when my grandma came to live with us. It was about 6 months after my granddad passed away, and I guess looking back, she must have been lonely in that big house of theirs, rattling around with only the grief and memories for company. So despite a few protests from Mum, my parents took her in. There were no protests from me, not at all. Grandma was loud and fun, and I loved her. She had an almost limitless supplies of boiled sweets, and she'd always slip me a couple whenever she saw me. She was always the first to stick up for me when I got in trouble, too. But it was her stories I loved best. I will just say, I love grandparents. I was just having this conversation yesterday with my best friend that grandparents are literally the best. Like, I miss my grandparents all the time.
Me too.
Yeah, it's so sad, but I love them. I just had to throw that in there. I love grandparents, and their stories are always great. Like my grandpa, for really quick like sidestep. I know this is gonna be a long one for you guys, but really quick sidestep. My grandpa was actually in World War II. He joined. He was born like in enough time that when he joined the Italian Merchant Marines. Yeah, he was a merchant marine. It was after they had switched sides, so it was after they had left the Axis and joined like the Allies, and that was when he got into the war. Yeah, isn't that?
No,
and
cool.
I love his stories about that. It's really cool.
That is
Isn't that
so
sick?
cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to throw that
No,
out there.
I love that. I love this little lore drop about you.
Yeah, I love grandparents. They have the best stories.
They do. I agree with you there.
Grandma had a lot of scary stories. She told me she dabbled in the occult when she was a teenager, trying out Ouija boards with her friends, tarot cards, fortune telling, all that stuff. You guys already know I do not fuck with Ouija boards. I don't. No. She'd shut off the lights in my room so only the glow of the night sky shone through the curtains, and she'd shuffle in real close enough so I could see the wrinkles on her face and smell the boiled sweets on her breath. Close enough so close enough so her deep blue eyes could stare straight into mine. She must have given me nightmares with a few of those tales, but now, years later, there's only one that I can still remember. Only one that's stuck with me. The story about the shower and Mr. Longfingers. Grandma told me Mr. Longfingers one night asked if I could asked about her baths. Grandma used to love her baths. She'd spend ages in them, light candles and incense, and lie in the tub humming to herself until the water turned cold. It drove my mom crazy, but when I asked her why she loved them so much, she said it was the only place she could relax. It was the only place that was safe for her to relax. You know, people like me who are, well, more sensitive to things. We have to have baths, she told me seriously one night, shuffling closer on the bed. I couldn't possibly spend that long in the shower. It'd be far too risky. Grandma stared at me with those blue eyes of her, unsmiling, and I knew it was time for one of her stories. One of the scary ones. I shivered with pleasure and pulled the covers up to my chin. Why is it risky, Grandma? She turned to look out the window and watching me from the corner of her eye, pausing for effect. I waited, feeling my heart rate pick up ever so slightly in my chest. Well, she said after a moment, it's only risky if you close your eyes, of course. If you close your eyes for longer than 10 seconds. What do you mean? Why? Well, do you ever play that game in the playground with your friends, the one where someone turns their back and the other sneaks up on them when they're not looking? I nodded, and Grandma nodded back. Exactly. So that's what it's like in the shower when you have your eyes closed. That's what it's like with Mr. Longfingers. A cold itch tickled back. Who's Mr. Longfingers, Grandma? She let out a deep breath, as if she'd wished she hadn't said anything, turned her head back to face mine. When she spoke next, she lowered her voice. No one knows exactly, Grandma whispered. Some think it's a creature that's attracted to the heat and smell we give off in there. Others think it's a demon that finds a way into our realm through the dense steam clouds. No one can say for sure, because the only ones who have actually seen Mr. Longfingers aren't ever going to be able to tell you. I pulled in a breath. Why not? Grandma shuffled closer along the bed and leaned towards me, leaving my question hanging in the air. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry your pretty head. As long as you remember the rules, you'll be fine.
Grandma is a freak. Why would you tell this to a child
To a
who's going to
10-year-old.
go to bed?
Yeah.
My God.
Well, when you're in the shower, you try not to close your eyes for too long. 5 seconds is fine, and 10 is just about okay too. But any longer than that... Yeah? Then what? Well, any longer than that, and you might just start to feel something in the room with you. Something watching. And if you ever go longer than 15 seconds, that's when you might start to hear a noise too. Hear what? The soft tap, tap, tap of fingers on glass. Fingers drumming against the glass door of the shower. If you do ever hear that noise, God forbid, will you make me a promise? What, Grandma? Promise me you'll never open your eyes. I barely slept that night. Hardly at all. I'd close my eyes and try to relax, but every time I did, I'd imagine a face pressed against my bedroom window, staring in at me. And when I did finally get to sleep, I had nightmares. Bad ones. I had them all week, in fact. Dreams about disembodied eyes watching me in the dark and long fingers reaching out to touch my exposed skin. It wasn't any better when I was awake either. Not really. The shower was the worst. That's when Grandma's story really got to me. I'd never thought about it before, but suddenly I had trouble shutting my eyes in there. I'd be standing beneath the beating water, shampoo running down my face, and as soon as I squinted my eyelids closed, I'd hear Grandma's words running through my head. 5 seconds is fine, and 10 is just about okay too, but any longer than that... I'd rub my hair fast, feeling the shampoo dripping off my chin, and as soon as I'd counted past 5 seconds, I'd feel it. A sort of pressure. Not a feeling of being watched exactly, but something close to that. I'd run my fingers faster and faster through my hair, frantically trying to get the suds out, and then ready blackness behind my closed eyes, coupled with the rush of water in my ears, would feel like I held a breath, like the silence before a scream. The The seconds would race through my mind, and I'd be so desperate to open my eyes again that I'd sometimes do it before my hair was rinsed fully clean, and my eyes would sting with shampoo. But before I shut them again, I'd always be sure to peer out through the steam glass door of the shower cubicle, just to make sure I was still alone. It wasn't long before Mom realized something was up. She heard me crying out in my sleep one night and came in to comfort me, asked me what the matter was, and it all came out. I told her about Grandma's story and about Mr. Longfingers. She got this look on her face when I was telling her, like she used to get with me when I'd made her really mad. This wide-eyed, angry look. Only this time, she wasn't angry with me. She was angry with Grandma. My parents' room was next to mine, and sometimes, if I pressed my ear against the wall, I could hear them talking in there. Soft whispers. That night, though, after Mom was satisfied I wasn't scared anymore, and she'd gone back to her room, the whispers weren't soft at all. Oh, no. I heard Mom hissing to Dad about Grandma, about the story she told me. Mom's voice floated through the wall, sharp and crisp. You... This part's funny. You know what your fucking mother said to him now, don't you, Simon? Dad's response was an unintelligible mutter. She's told him there's a monster that'll get him if he shuts his eyes in the shower. A monster. The poor kid's been having nightmares about it all week. Seriously, Simon, you better say something to her tomorrow morning. First thing, or I will. I could just, like, picture that conversation.
I would be reacting the same way, though. I'd be like, your fucking mom just scared the shit out of our kid.
For sure. For sure. If somebody was telling my 10-year-old, like, scary stories like that, and then, like, not immediately laughing and joking with them and, like, making sure that, like, they know it's just a joke after, like, I would be so pissed. So pissed. Grandma came to visit me in my room the following night. That time, as she perched on the end of my bed, there were no stories. Nothing like that. Grandma just sat there and stared down at me, her blue eyes sad, wide and sad. The light from the moon outside my window lit up her wrinkled face. You know I'd never let anything bad happen to you, don't you? She said after a moment. I nodded my head. I know, Grandma. You know I wouldn't let you come to any harm. I nodded again. Okay, good. That's good. She looked away from me for a moment out the window. You know the things I tell you in the evening are meant to help you, sweetheart. They're meant to toughen you up a bit. Protect you. She paused and shook her head. But maybe your mom's right. Maybe I went too far this time. She looked down at me and smiled, but even then, even though I was only 10 years old, I could tell it didn't quite reach her eyes. I'll tell you what, Grandma said. You know what I told you about Mr. Longfingers and the shower? Well, I'm gonna make sure that you're safe. I'll scare the bastard off, how about that? It won't come back in a hurry if it has to face me. I stared at Grandma, watching her face glow in the moonlight, watching her smile down at me. I nodded my head once. I was the one who found her. I don't know when exactly it happened, but I'd guess it was about a week after we had that talk in my room. A week after, she told me she wouldn't let me come to any harm. I woke early that morning from a bad dream to a heavy thumping sound. I sat bolt upright in my bed. My room was quiet around me, and I couldn't hear anything from the wall that joined my parents' room either. But the house wasn't silent, entirely silent. Floating down the hall, muffled by my closed door, I could hear the sound of rushing water, the noise of the shower. I leapt out of bed and ran down the upstairs hallway, heart already pounding in my chest. As soon as I reached the closed bathroom door, I started banging on it. A deep terror was welling up inside me like cold water from a well, something I couldn't place, and I kept banging and shouting, "Grandma," over and over again, even though she didn't respond. Oh my God, that's so sad.
That is so sad.
Off to my right, I was dimly aware of voices from my parents' room and the sleepy shuffle of footsteps. But before they had a chance to make it out onto the landing, I'd lifted my hand to test out the door handle. More out of instinct than because I thought it might actually be open, but the door wasn't locked. I kept banging with my free hand, and it swung suddenly inward, bringing me face to face with a wall of steam. Heat struck my skin. I squinted my eyes against the damp fog and peered into the bathroom. And before Dad pushed me to one side, before everything around me descended into shouting and tears and chaos, I saw her. I saw Grandma. She was lying naked on the floor in the shower cubicle, the water beating down around her, blue eyes bulging from her face. One hand was curled against her chest like a dead bird, while the other trailed against the glass of the shower cubicle. The flailing finger marks she had carved through the steam still clear and fresh. That's so sad. I couldn't imagine.
I couldn't either.
Like, even if this is just a story, just the thought of, like, finding my grandparents, like, that would be so sad. It was a heart attack that killed her. That's what my dad told me. He said Grandma was old and the thing had struck her quickly and suddenly. She would have died fast and without pain, Dad said. She wouldn't have suffered. I knew better, though. Even as a 10-year-old kid, I knew better. And years later, writing this as an adult, I still know better. I also know my wife and kids resent me for refusing to have a shower in the house, for insisting everyone take baths. They pretend it's okay and they humor me, but I can tell they don't really understand it. Not at all. My wife thinks she does, but she thinks I still carry the trauma of seeing my grandmother dying in front of me when I was little. I guess she's right, in a way, but she doesn't know the full truth. No one does. And no one would believe me if I told them. No one would believe me if I said the reason I don't take showers, the reason I haven't had one since I was 10 years old, isn't because I'm scared from the sight of a dead body. It's because all those years ago, when I crept back in the still hot bathroom after the paramedics had taken Grandma's body downstairs, I made sure to check the marks her fingers had carved through the steam glass of the shower cubicle. And those marks weren't just on the inside.
Oh, that one's so sad.
It's really, really sad, but it's also really creepy. So when I read this, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is legitimately like a thing that I like have. And I don't know if it's like Psycho or like one of the scary movies that did it to me. I feel like it's one of the scary movies that did it to me because you remember, oh no, it definitely is. It's the one, I think it's Scary Movie. She's like in, or is it Scary Movie or Disaster Movie? Where she's like in the shower and then like those like there's like fingers that like come out like and like or whatever.
Yes.
But it's like funny because then she like she's like shaving and it's like helping her shave at one point, but it's just like in there. I think it was that I saw that movie while I was like I was very little. I think I was like probably 6 or 7. And ever since then, it's now been like a weird fear of mine. So like while I'm like washing my hair, like when he was talking about like rushing to like get shampoo out of his hair, I'm sorry. So really weird. This is like, I'm going to get very intimate with you guys for a second. When I'm in the shower, I face away from the water. So like my back is to it. And like, I mean, I rotate, like don't get me wrong. I rotate.
She just cleans her back, guys.
Yeah. Just my back.
She has a very clean back.
Yeah. No, I rotate, but like when I'm just like standing there, I stand facing away from the water. And when I'm washing my hair, I obviously I don't face the water. I lean back with my hair like into the shower head because I don't want my eyes closed for long periods of time because it freaks me out.
I'm the same way though. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't like having my back, like, I don't know. I think I know exactly what it's from. There was like a commercial where there was someone showering and there was like a deer head in the shower or something, and I hate taxidermy.
A deer head?
I don't know. It was like a weird commercial.
Yeah, taxidermy is not it.
No, taxidermy literally freaks me out. And so ever since then, I always like picture the faucet or think like there's like a deer head behind me if I think about it too much.
Do we all have trauma from something when we were like a children that scares us in the shower? I need to know. You guys need to tell me. Do we all have trauma from the shower? Because I can't handle that.
I can't either. Sometimes like I get overly scared, and so I'm like, Danielle, can you just come sit in the bathroom?
Yeah. Please. I love being in the shower. I have like no problems being in there for a long period of time because I don't close my eyes for long periods of time. But like those parts where like I have to like close my eyes, I do those parts very quickly, or at least like get it so
Just,
this way I
like,
can like open my eyes.
Put your head back and like.
Yeah, because I also wash my face in the shower.
Same.
It's just so much easier for me. So like I'll like do that like super quick. Like it has to be really quick, like 5 seconds, guys. Like this story,
Like literally 5 seconds, no
Yeah.
longer. Okay, I have a short one, and this one kind of reminds me of Bird Box. So
Ooh.
kind of alien-y,
Okay,
alien
okay.
invasion kind of thing.
I'm ready.
Emergency alert. Do not look outside your windows. Warning, this is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Citizens of the world, lock all doors. Close all of your blinds. Do not go near any windows. Do not look outside. Do not leave your house. Stay in a room with no windows. Gather what supplies you can. Turn off all the lights and do not open the door for anything. When I first heard it, it didn't even sound real. It sounded fake, like something in a horror movie. But it was an emergency, so I decided I should probably do what they tell me. I grabbed a flashlight, pillow, my phone, charger, food, and basic all other things to keep me entertained while this stuff happened. I had no idea what was going on, but once I got into the bathroom and got comfy, I texted my parents asking them if they got the alert. They also did. They said citizens of the world. Did they actually broadcast that to the world? I asked myself. So I texted an internet friend that lives across the world, and they said they got it too. Same exact message. And to be honest, it's kind of scary. They tell you what to do, but not what's going on, and people are scared of that. 20 minutes later, emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. Unknown creatures have been knocking on people's doors and been killing people that open the door. There is 5 major hotspots: Washington, D.C., Tokyo, Toronto, Moscow, and London. They've been located all around, but it seems as if they're attacking those first. This is an invasion. Stay in your rooms. Do not open any doors. Do not look outside. They will kill you instantly with just a look. May God help us all. Emergency nuke sirens are going off. Tornado sirens are going off. What is going on? Is this a prank? How can an invasion be real? Are aliens real? How can I even comprehend that? I hear car alarms going off. I hear things being destroyed. They are here. They're killing. It sounds like a war zone out there, but without any guns. What can the government do? Just shoot them? But they would die looking at them. There's no possible way we'd ever survive this. We are going to die. I text my parents, but no answer. I text my brother and sister, no answer. I start to panic now. What if my family is gone? And all I can do is listen to other people's families get murdered. The nuke sirens have started again, and they are getting very loud, shaking my whole apartment. I wonder what the other people in my building are thinking. Probably like me, this is it. This is the end of the world. Everyone on this planet will die. I hear a knock on my door. I don't answer it. I hear someone screaming for me to open it. I mean, it sounded human. Should I open it? No, that would be stupid. Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The extraterrestrial are attacking every major city in the world. There is a lot of them. We have not found out what they want. Stay inside. Millions, if not billions, are dead. Stay inside. It's as if the government have given up now. There's no way to fight, and these messages are getting less helpful each time they come on. If billions are dying, then I don't know how we can survive this. I mean, I have so far, but it doesn't sound like for long. I hear buildings being destroyed. I hear cars being destroyed. My building has been hit a few times. I'm hearing my world crumble before me. At this point, there's no reason to hope anymore. There's so many dying and there's so much chaos. They will get everyone. I would love to know what one of these things look like, but if I see them, I die. I hope someone takes a picture, and if we do survive, I want to see it. I want to see what's killing us. But the end is nowhere near. And I don't even know how many people we have left. Should I just kill myself? Maybe I should die before they get me. I don't want to die by those things. Plus, what if I do survive and get survivor's guilt? Then there's no way I... Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The extraterrestrial have left and left billions of people dead. If you're alive, please tap the button on your phone now. If on a radio, tune to 104 and state your name and city. We will update you in 20 minutes. There's no way I want to live. That's what was going to say. And yet somehow I'm actually alive. Do I want to die now? Well, no. How many people are alive? What did these things want? Why did they attack us? There's too many questions to even ask now. At this point, all we can do is just try and figure out some numbers and restart society. How can a world like ours recover from something like this? How long until society is normal again? Will humanity ever be the same? I don't know. What I do know is that I could have lost everything. I will text my friends and family and come back with some numbers. Emergency alert. This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. We have reported a little over 1 billion people accounted for. Not every country has the technology, so we will investigate those countries in coming months. We do not understand what these creatures wanted, nor what they have taken. In the next month or two, we will be figuring out the next steps for humanity. May God help us all. Only 3 people I know survived. My sister, my uncle, and my best friend. Everyone else is dead. I want to kill myself, but at the same time, humanity needs me. We need each other to continue human life. Only time will tell what to do next, if there is anything next. Edit. It's 2 weeks later. The guilt is too much. I'm a fucking coward. Goodbye.
Wow.
Interesting.
That was a good story.
Very short, but very good. Very interesting.
Yeah. I love ones like that.
Me
I love
too.
when they're like something alien related, especially. That was fun.
Very fun. It did remind me of Bird Box because, like...
Yeah, because like you can't look at them.
Yeah. God, that movie's so good.
Yeah. Okay, I have a really short one too. What was that? Okay. Okay, so this is from like a Reddit, like, what is your most disturbing, scary, or creepy real story? This person posted, this is from a while ago. This is from like over 12 years ago. It says, about 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night, and the drive was about 2 hours. I didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day. Most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and trees on either side, the real creepy ones you see a lot in movies. Anyway, I had been driving for about 45 minutes and I was starting to get really tired. You know how that happens? You just suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well, yeah, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt I could park and safely sleep. Anyway, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. I pulled over to the side of the road. Of the road onto the grass behind some bushes to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. The roads weren't empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was around 11:22 and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I think I would too. I'd probably just like immediately assume that it was like an animal or something like right outside if
Or
I
like
was like
the
something
wind
like that.
blowing like a brush.
Yeah,
too,
like if
right?
it was like really quick, and then I'd be like, all right, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time, it really freaked me out because the sound didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? That's very true. I don't know why. Like, I would also think the same thing. Like, could it just be another animal, or was it something different? But if it sounded exactly the same, that's creepy as fuck. I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch a glimpse of something running into the forest. Now, at the time, I thought it was the damn hook killer Q. You know, the one that scratched that couple's car and then slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate? Fuck that, I thought to myself. So I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a fucking car parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door opened. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. Then I looked in my rear view mirror. I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey, you, get the fuck out of your car now. I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. I never saw the guy again. Moral of the story, don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road.
Oh my God.
First of all, no.
No.
Open the windows, put your air on, make yourself cold or something.
Yeah.
Like, no. And,
No.
like, also make sure that, like, you're driving with, like, you know, like, you have, like, a drink or something sugary to kind of, like, keep you going. Because I can't tell you how many times, like, we drive a lot. Because we don't live very close to my family anymore. So, like, we are always stopping to make sure that, like, we have stuff with us so we don't have to stop. And, like, I just
can't imagine just, like, driving. I mean, like, there's been times, like, where I am, like, sleepy at the wheel, but not, like, where I'm like, oh my God, I need to pull over. You know?
But I know it happens. Like,
Yeah.
I do know somebody who, like, did have to pull over, like, on the side of a highway one time and, like, try to sleep for a little bit because they were just so tired and, like, so depleted. And, like, it's dangerous. Like, it's so dangerous. So, obviously, like, if you guys are really that tired, like, don't drive. Just try to please put yourself somewhere safe. Keep your doors locked. Make sure, like, you're, you know, I don't know, somewhat prepared or have something, you know, even like some, like, you can literally have, like, I was going to say pepper spray, but not everywhere, like, really allowed to have pepper spray. So, like, if you have, like, breath spray, like, you know, like a mint spray, you can still buy stuff like that. So, like, there you go. You could have that instead. Just make sure you have something little with you just to be safe, guys.
Exactly.
This one was creepy.
That one was creepy. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have time to do one more of each?
All right, guys. Well, that is going to be the last one for our Reddit Scary Stories. Let us know if you like these, if you think they're fun. We'll do more. And also, Jordan and I have been talking, and we would love for you guys to send in your own stories.
Please.
So in our bio, Instagram, TikTok, we'll even post it if we can get it into our YouTube and our Spotify if we can. It's just email us to goreandgossippod at gmail.com. So you can send us a little email, send in your story, and we will make a listeners episode.
I would love that.
Stories.
I would love to hear everyone's
so
scary stories.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more. Well, we'll mention it, like, more often, so this way you guys can send them in. But we definitely would love to have you guys send in and be able to hear your stories that you guys have.
Please do it.
And even if it's not, like, like, super scary, anything, like, paranormal or anything, like, freaky that's happened to you guys, we want to hear it. We want to know.
We want to know the creepy, spooky, weird things that have happened to you. Things you can't explain. I don't know. You're missing a t-shirt, you find it at your friend's house, even though your friend definitely didn't have it before. Or, like, a necklace that, like, you lost 5 years ago and you suddenly find it.
And random, like, pops up. Oh, I hate when that happens.
I hate it. It's literally goblins, I swear.
Oh, yeah. Goblins. Oh, speaking of goblins, guys, I'll talk about it maybe, like, a little bit in the next episode. I have a little bit more as to the lore of the Kelly Hopkinsville, like, goblin versus alien thing.
Yes, your little crash out.
Yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more another time, but you said goblins and it reminded me, so I'll definitely have to tell you guys a little bit more about that. Whether it's crime, conspiracy, or just straight up spooky, we're gonna keep talking about it. Like, follow, comment, and stay tuned for new episodes each week because it'll just keep getting dark and spooky from here. So stay nosy and stay spooky, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.